Welcome to the Empower Hour. My name is Isabel Starck, and I am your host for this episode number 26, where I am interviewing the beautiful and lovely and tan Darieth Chisolm. This show has actually been a long time coming. Due to the holidays, we decided to postpone just a bit and bring you guys some great content at the start of the year to get you started and really killing your 2016 goals. So, as I mentioned, my name is Isabel Starck. I am a business life empowerment coach, and I help women get out of tunnel vision focus and into multi-dimensional success. So, without further ado, I would like to go ahead and introduce my guest, Darieth Chisolm. Take it away, Darieth.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. Thanks so much for having me on. I know we've been working at getting this done over the holidays, so this is fantastic that we get to start 2016 together and with all of your viewers. So I'm excited about being here.
Thank you very much. And for those viewers who are on live, I do want to let you know that if you would like to join this conversation, all you have to do is actually we'll do some cleanup right now. Basically, down here at the bottom, you're going to see a bar that says join the conversation. Click on that bar and a new window will open up, and it'll be the Google Plus window. At that point, you'll see either in this area or this area, the 9 Google squares. Hover over that with your mouse, click on the Q&A app, and then type in your question right away. And we will go ahead and ask it of Darieth. So for starters, Darieth, why don't you share with us a little bit about what you've done? I mean, the way that I came across you, we were both in the same training together for a year-long training. But, you know, what really intrigued me was your book. I think that was when I first really saw you. It's like you had published your book, and I was so excited to read that. And actually, you come with a lot more experience than just being an author. Tell us about your 25 years experience.
Yeah, so my background is in television news. I anchored the news for over 20 years at the NBC affiliate in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and really enjoyed doing that. I mean, for all of those years, I had the great pleasure of serving as the main anchor for Channel 11 News in Pittsburgh. All along, however, I always had this passion to be in business and be an entrepreneur, as well as empowering and motivating and encouraging people to go after their dreams. So a few years ago, I had opened a small aerial fitness studio in Pittsburgh and really came to understand what it meant to be a business owner, owning a brick and mortar studio, providing a very unique service for others, and had a great time doing that. And then it occurred to me that I could reach more people and really spread this message of really finding oneself, whether it's through some physical space or through, having dreams about starting their own business or becoming successful by speaking and by coaching and by becoming an author. So I started to pursue those passions and started writing a lot and taking some of the content that I had been speaking about and put it into a book. The title of the book is called Hustle: Why Now is the Time to Unleash Your Passions. And so it really became a drive of mine to put the book together and then begin speaking on points within the book. And last year, and of course, as you mentioned, we went through a coaching certification program together. I also enrolled in a second coaching certification program because, of course, when you're a type A driven person, you just can't do one thing at a time. So I became a certified coach and have since really enjoyed supporting people and serving others and holding them accountable towards living their dreams and, enjoying their journey.
So just so our viewers, just in case they missed this, you went from television news anchor for doing that for 20 years, and you opened up an 25 years and opening up an aerial studio. So tell us a little bit about that passion. Like, what drove you to do that?
Well, I'd always been very physical. I ran a couple of marathons and, really decided that I really wanted to find different ways to engage my body and really enjoy working out. And, I'll never forget, my sister said to me, well, you should try pole dancing. And I thought to myself, I can't do pole. I'm a news anchor. Who pole? Come on, seriously. But I was so intrigued by it that I thought I would give it a try. So I did. I started taking classes and fell in love with the workout. how my body was really becoming strong, and how much fun I was having. And then it occurred to me, this could be an incredible workout for many women. And as we know, I mean, pole dancing has this taboo and this naughtiness around it, if you will, and yet it's such a beautiful workout, and you get such a thrill out of doing certain moves and poses. I also started incorporating some aerial yoga, and that you do yoga in fabric that hangs from the ceiling and low. And then it occurred to me, why not pull these things together and open a studio? So I did. This was about 4 years ago. It's called Full Body Fitness Club. And we brought in some amazing instructors to teach not only pole and aerial yoga, but also other forms of aerial fitness, like silk dance, or if you've ever seen a Cirque du Soleil show, climbing and dropping in the fabric. That really became a very unique place for people to attend in Pittsburgh to get a workout. In fact, the slug line was transform your workout, awaken your spirit, because we knew that part of what people would do is really enjoy that aspect of working out. So I had the studio for about 3 years, and somewhere in the course of that, I realized that for me, there was a greater desire, as I said earlier, to help people awaken their spirit in a different way and not necessarily physical. And so this desire to begin to coach and to really connect with people evolved. It happened at the same time that I joined a network marketing company, It Works Global, and really enjoyed building a team of just dynamite men and women who were committed to helping other people using the products in It Works. But also I enjoyed the personal development that comes along with having a multi-level marketing or network marketing business, the coaching, the mentoring, the support, the mindset around that. And that just opened me up even further. And from that point, I made the shift to starting my own video podcast show where I was interviewing other successful entrepreneurs, pursuing the book, the coaching, and the speaking. So I wear multiple hats, but it's all in the line of really serving people and helping them to become the best version of themselves.
Yeah, well, I do find that most women, especially who are entrepreneurs, and mothers, you are a mother to a young man now, I see, Mr. Football Player. But, you know, we do have to wear the hats, and we have to be, that's why I talk about multidimensional success. And one of the things that comes up is, you know, you get tunnel vision focused onto one just, you know, goal that you have in mind. But, you know, we still have our relationships. We're still mothers. We still have our bodies to take care of. And when you're talking about the aerial fitness and pole dancing in particular, you know, you must have really connected with your feminine side. I mean, I didn't know you prior to that, and when I look at you, you are just, you're glowing. Your beauty is just, it's radiating from you. It radiates from your smile, your eyes, your pores.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It does. You exude beauty and sensuality, and I think that's really wonderful. And I'm sure that people are probably attracted to even your studio because of that.
Yeah. Well, I sold the studio, I should say that, about almost 2 years ago to a couple of aerialists. So it's still up and functioning, but I do appreciate those compliments. I mean, I work really hard to try and align and integrate not only just those things that I'm passionate about that include work, and I could work nonstop, but also taking care of oneself, whether it's through exercise or eating right, having healthy relationships, you know, really finding time for quiet and spirituality and meditation. You know, all of those things really encompass what I consider a very prosperous life. And so often as entrepreneurs, we're on this journey of trying to make as much money as we can, or be number one, or be the first to do something, or have amazing launches. And that's all great. And it certainly are those things that aspire us to be who we are. But I really think a life that is blooming is one that it really encompasses a balance of all of those things that make us whole. And if we've spent way too much time working, we burn ourselves out. And I have been there. In fact, I feel as though I'm transitioning now into a place where I'm finding that it's so much more important to pay attention to self-care and health and relationships and spirituality as much as I pay attention to building my businesses and coaching and serving other people.
Well, you came out with a book called Hustle, so maybe the next one's going to be Heart.
Right, or Bloom. Somewhere in between there.
There you go. Yeah, the process and then the destination. The destination.
Right, absolutely.
So from what I know from you, I know we've spoken on the line a couple of times. You you are running a location independent business now. So tell us about, the successes and some of the challenges that you're actually having between traveling you have 2 homes or 3 homes?
Well, 2 homes, and then back to where I've spent most of my life over the last 25 years is Pittsburgh. So yeah, between travel and then traveling and speaking and working in other places as well. So it is by far that definition of independent location, freedom-based business, whatever. And I know some people call it, in my case, tropical entrepreneurship or digital nomad. I don't know what you want to call it. Sometimes I call it craziness, but I love it nonetheless. And it really has evolved for me out of this passion to be able to work from any place. I mean, nowadays with computers and cell phones and having a business that allows you to not only align with what your largest goals are and your own desire, but to if part of that is to travel and experience the world and live in different places, it's shifting what it is that you're doing to the position where you can still support your business and those that are supporting your business as well. And I have to say there are challenges, as you said. I mean, I'm in Jamaica right now and love it here, but we have sporadic power outages, and it's part of the reason that I chose to live in a part of the island where I can walk to the beach. I'm settled into the mountains. It's a beautiful place, but the give and take of that is sometimes the lights go out. And it can be tough when you're running a business that's online, but it's also finding ways to, when that happens, recoup quickly and move through it. I guess the other end would be is that if I were in Pittsburgh, and I've certainly spent many winters there, the power's gone out then. We've had major snowstorms. So it's the price you pay, so to speak, although I guess I can't really complain for doing that. And it's also because I really, intended to experience a life that allows me to travel and work from any place that I so choose.
So it sounds like you've actually achieved the success that you really wanted, at least at this stage in your life. I'm sure there's other successes to come, but I guess overall at this stage in your life, how would you actually define success?
Great question, because I believe that our definition of success changes. Just as we evolve every day and everything is temporary and nothing is permanent, that definition also flexes and morphs. And I'm probably much more guilty of it moving, at least my definition of it, because I'm so open to receive and so open to challenging myself in different directions. I don't believe that we live in a box and we need to do the same thing every day. I think we can incorporate a lot of things that make us, whole and make us one. And so my definition, I would say at this point, is balance and clarity, success, peace, and freedom. And those are the words that come to mind when I think about what it means to be successful. Yes, it's generating multiple streams of income and being successful. But if that entails, for the short time, to be able to focus on balance and clarity and peace, not focusing so much on generating the income, and there's a win in that column, and I have to have a lose in the other one in terms of maybe not making as much, but I'm happy because I'm at peace, I'm sleeping at night, I feel strong and centered, that's a win. And that is where I think, for me, that's that new definition of success.
And that's that definition of balance. Like you said, there's some that maybe you don't reach the full potential on, but on the other end, you're actually able to really be able to sleep at night, and sometimes literally, because how many times have we spent, hours on the computer, whatever it is, working, editing, blog post writing, but very familiar with that. So
yeah, and
I love it.
Yeah, it's interesting. My book is called Hustle, and I can tell you for the last 2 years, that's exactly what I did. I mean, I worked with an incredible team, an incredible assistant, and we pushed out a lot. I mean, when I look back at last year, we pumped out several episodes of my video podcast show where we travel on location and we have a 3-camera shoot, and there's editing and time involved in doing that. And then, of course, the book and publishing that, and several speaking events, and several awards along the way. I also won an Emmy and a few other things. So it was a very busy year. I also went through a divorce. I like to call it a happy divorce. It was, a time in my life where, we needed to move into that position, and really embraced that it was time to release and let go. Divorces are challenging, as we all know, and I really decided I wanted it to be as happy of an experience as possible. And I'm grateful that it has been. I'm grateful for the 20 some years of that relationship. But I know that in life, I've got 20 more, 30 more years. So I'm excited about what that brings to me as well.
Yeah, and I do have to commend you on that as well, because when we first spoke and you shared with me about the divorce, you defined it just like you did, a happy divorce. And I think especially because there's children involved, regardless how old they are, they're still affected. And yeah, his reaction that you shared with me was pretty amazing with that too. So I'm really happy. It's the epitome of a perfect divorce.
Yeah, and my son is amazing, and I love him dearly. And children, as you say, can be impacted by this in many ways. And I'm very proud of the way that he's handled it. And he's got a great relationship with both of us. He's a happy young man. He's successful in school. So life on that end could not be better. And I'm so grateful for that.
Awesome. So you mentioned a little bit about hustle in the book, and I want to have you kind of share with the viewers, what plans you have for 2016, because I know the book came out around last summer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So it was around last summer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, what do you have any tour dates that you'd like to share with us? Why is really the year? Why is this the actual year that it's time to actually unleash your passions?
Yeah, because I think we're in no better time than now to really pursue those things that drive us, that make us happy, that we feel we could do all day long, and not even realize that the time has passed, when we're totally focused in our zone. And we cannot afford to let those passions lie low. I mean, we don't know what tomorrow brings. We don't know what next year brings. Why not do it now? And do it under the guises that it may not become successful today or tomorrow. It may take a year or two, but if you don't get started today, it's surely not going to happen any sooner. And so stepping out on faith, taking what I call a jump or a leap of faith and moving in that direction is, I think, vital for people. You know what it's like to follow your passion and really live in your bliss. And you can also probably think of the days when you didn't do it, and you probably felt torn and like you were leaving something on the table. We deserve more than that. We deserve to be able to express those passions and go after our biggest dreams and really live them. And if we don't choose to do it now, when? You almost have to get into action. A body in motion stays in motion. And so no better time than now in that technology, the ability to be able to reach the masses, whether it's through Google Hangouts or Periscope or a video podcast show, or still just blogging or being on radio, or being on social media. We can share with others whatever that passion and dream is in a second, and really begin to galvanize the type of support that we want to lead us into our highest desires. But if we never get started, it never happens. And I know the biggest thing that holds people back is fear, that dirty word that keeps us away from ever pursuing what gives us that grandest feeling. And we have to get over that. In fact, most times, once we get into action and start moving towards, all of a sudden it's like, what did I fear? I can't believe I got through this. What held me back? So now truly is the time. And part of my book, which I really enjoy, is I broke down what I consider 10 steps towards helping people get to that place. And within the book, I break it into whether it's finding what it means to feel abundant and feel prosperous, even in the time and the space that you're in, because that invites more of that in. We talk about putting together tools and systems and support, the things that you really need to be functioning in business. And then, of course, getting to a place where you are very confident about what you're creating. I call them I am statements. Are you speaking to yourself in a way that supports your grandest dream? Are you confident in the person that you are? And sometimes it starts with just simple things like, I am successful, I am worthy, I am capable, I am confident that I can find the absolute best resources and people to show up in my life. And so the book, while it's, there've been tons of incredible inspirational books that have been written by amazing people. I like to think of it as an entry, if you will, into some level of personal development, but also really mindset, success mindset. So I hope it's something that people will pick up and read and share with others as well.
That's awesome. You touched on one of the key words that I was going to bring up, and that's the fact of fear, and how it is a 4-letter word, and it does, hold a lot of people back. I heard a definition of it once called, it's fear basically is a false evidence appearing real. Mm-hmm. And just as you mentioned, sometimes you have this huge fear, you start stepping towards it, you look back and think, what did I ever fear? But I would love to hear from you, kind of like a little fun question. What is one of the biggest fears that you've ever had and you've overcome? Some that come to mind, or I have a lot of friends who really fear giving birth.
Well, maybe I fear that because I only had one child. So, I like to think of myself as somewhat adventurous, and so physically, I don't know that I have lots of fears around that. I mean, I've scuba dived, ran marathons, pole dance, whatever. I mean, I'm ready to challenge myself around that. I think sometimes my fears are around what will people think. I mean, I still, even 20 some years in television and really being this voice and this face that people, you still go home at night and you think, what do people think? Sometimes when I send a post, I mean, literally when I send something, I think, I want to be authentic. I want to be transparent. I want to be real, but what will people think? And then it always comes back to me that that's not important. What's important is my ability to be as transparent and real as possible, and not let that fear stop me from sharing what's on my mind. Because there may be someone out there who says, God, I needed to hear that today, or yes, that was some great information, or maybe I can share this with someone else. And so if you don't get past that fear, then you don't get the chance to be what it is that's on the other side of the fear. And in my case, it's of course wanting to motivate others and do it in a very transparent way. Someone else may have the fear of, running a marathon, I don't know, having a baby. I mean, whatever that is, it's the thing on the other side of it that we really want. So we have to get through it in order to get to it.
Okay. Well, fear of criticism is something that comes up for a lot of people. And it's really interesting to hear that it still comes up for you. Just very slight, but it still does. And I think at the end of the day, you're the only one who sees yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, sometimes I have this fear of, and I've learned this over this last year, because what I've learned from many of my guests on Hustle and Heart TV who are successful is that there is no such thing as perfection. And I'd like to think that most things that I do, there's some level of perfection. And sometimes it's if we don't get it just right, then we won't put it out, or we won't share it, or we won't do it. And yet nothing is ever really perfect. And it's only in doing something over and over again do you get good. You just have to get past that. And that, for me, that was like last year's biggest thing, was to just say, well, it's never going to be perfect, but I have to decide that there is no such thing. And if I'm waiting around for it, it'll never happen.
Right. You have to take action, and you got to put in your 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
And even then, even if you've put in your 10,000 hours, the Olympians still come in second.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll never forget. I had the opportunity to interview, as I said, many people over my years, and it amazes me the number of athletes who train with high intensity, and obviously with the purpose of winning, or just getting up, past the finish line, or making that last basket when it really counts, or whatever. And it's always just that much that makes the difference, but it's all of those hours and days of training that gave them the wherewithal to push past that extra second, or do that amazing feat that got them there. And so we can't be afraid to make the mistakes and put in the work, because we may not win today, and it may not be tomorrow, but it could be some weeks or some months out. But it's all of that work that's important. And that's why I always say, love your journey. The journey is the most important part. It is by far, especially for those of us that are type A, very driven people who are out to make everything that we do an absolute success. Sometimes we win in that, and that's fantastic, and that is the end goal. But we spend so many more hours working towards that, and if we don't enjoy that, what's the point? I mean, really, what is the point in having the golden goose or the prize and nothing along the journey has made us happy? And that's where we've spent the most of the time. That level of mindset has got to change if you're in for the long haul.
Yeah, it's almost like a wedding, right? You plan a wedding in advance if you don't elope. But, you've spent sometimes months, some people even years, just really planning for this really 2 to 5 hour event. And then it's done. Poof. And you spend all that bridezilla time, getting on your girls or on the caterer or whatnot, but it's really about enjoying the journey. And I totally agree with you there. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks. But, you've mentioned Heart and Hustle TV a few times already. And, I would love for you to tell our viewers a little bit about your Heart and Hustle TV. And it's a podcast video show.
It's Hustle and Heart TV.
Heart, oh my.
No, it's okay. It's Hustle and Heart TV. Hustle, the book, Hustle and Heart TV. And it is a video podcast show where I explore the hustle and the heart of an entrepreneur. And we interview people in Pittsburgh, because obviously that's where I've spent the bulk of my time. Successful entrepreneurs, but not only entrepreneurs, philanthropists, those people who are making a difference in the world. What is it that drives them? What are some of their secrets and strategies and success tips? So we go out on location and typically film them in their office, their business, their home, and just allow them in a half hour to just pour into our viewers. Very much like this, except that I'm right next to them, and we're talking about their particular line of work and how they would encourage someone else who is interested in doing what it is that they're doing. And I'm really proud of the show. It came to me to put something like this together because it allowed me to take my understanding of television and the world of television and the medium of really being able to produce something and show people's faces and hear their voices and really impact in that way, but also to talk about the subjects that I'm most passionate about, and that's success mindset, being an entrepreneur, loving life, all of those things that are certainly very important, but then also now putting it into a medium that is exploding, and that is, of course, podcasting and video podcasting. So you can view the show on my YouTube channel as well as at hustleandhearttv.com, as it's also a podcast on iTunes, and so you can listen to it, if you're an iTunes podcast listener as well.
Sorry, I was just popping over to see if any of the questions had come in, because I noticed a few viewers on there. And I'll just take a little bit of time to remind everybody who's watching that if you'd like to ask a question live, all you have to do is click on the box here at the bottom that says join the conversation. It'll pop open a new window, and you will look for the 9 Google squares either in this area or this area of your screen. Hover over that with your mouse, and then you can click on the Q&A app. A sidebar will open up and I'll skip Darieth. So just opening that up, making sure it's there. There we go. All right, so I know we've kind of bounced around all over the place, and one of the things that's coming up for me right now with your Heart and Hustle TV. Okay, hold on. Hustle and Heart. Oh my gosh, here I go again.
No worries.
You're like, okay, I'm going to use her as an example in one of my trainings. So no, with Hustle and Heart TV, and with the way that you travel and where it is that you live, how is it that you are able to get it all done? I know that there are certain tools that we all use. You mentioned, the internet. You have a fabulous team, but what are some of the tools that you actually utilize on a daily basis to make sure that you're able to, run your TV show? You're an author. I mean, just living life, you're coaching, you're doing your academy, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But please share with us some of the tools that you use.
Yeah. So I really believe in batching, and what I did prior to making the transition to leave Pittsburgh was to shoot as many episodes as possible. And so we went out and we shot probably 14, 15 episodes. We're actually in the can through February with all of our guests. And then each week we release those episodes through my newsletter, on YouTube, on iTunes, and then of course throughout other social media. And they've all been shot, they're ready to go. Our guests are aware. We release them out on Wednesdays, and that's provided us the opportunity to do that. I pre-sold some advertisers, and so our advertisers are embedded within the show, and that of course helps to fund the cost around doing the show. And those are all scheduled to go out according to the show release. So that's in place. What I use primarily in terms of my database is Infusionsoft. I'm a huge believer in having some type of system or system in place, and there are lots of them out there, but I rely on that. I use Bluehost that hosts my WordPress website. I'm on YouTube, on iTunes, of course. I use Libsyn, which is my podcast. That's what I use to support my podcast. And then, the various social media platforms as well. And so that's the online portion of doing most of that. And then throughout finding clients to coach, whether it's through speaking and having different speaking engagements in place, I'll be traveling coming up in the next month and a half, and I've got a pretty busy schedule. It's primarily in Pittsburgh through the end of February into the end of March, where I've already signed on a couple of different projects and will fill my calendar with several different speaking events, as well as shoot some additional episodes for Hustle and Heart TV. And then from there, I really want to pick up some international travel. Part of what I've really determined to do is to take what I do and go into different countries and spend time there coaching and speaking and working from that standpoint. The internet has given us all the opportunity to be wherever we want, as we talked about, and connect with others. But I am a huge connector. I love to shake hands. I love to give hugs. I love to be face-to-face and working with people, whether it's in a large auditorium or in workshops. And, I spent so many years behind a glass, being on television. It's so nice to be in a room with people and connect with them that way. And I really enjoy doing that. So to the degree that I can work to have some opportunity to connect with women in particular globally, that is a big goal of mine. I think you asked me before about what 2016 looks like, and that's one of them, is to really embark on this opportunity to create more of an international or global brand. And that will take years, of course, but now is the time to plant those seeds so that begins to bloom.
Awesome. Very cool. And with all your travel, I'm guessing that there's going to be probably some book signings in between there somewhere.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I want to get up and grab the book. It's literally over there. I meant to grab it when we came over, but absolutely. I will have the books in tow with me. I'm also working on creating an online program for the book that is more supplemental in terms of supporting people with what I call bloom living. I've got this idea around really encouraging people to live their dreams and love their journey. And so part of what I'll start to do are some weekly Periscope sessions where some candid conversations on that, taking elements from the book, but also just really encouraging people to manifest their greatest desires. And I'm in the process of working through some of that and hope to be able to release that relatively soon.
Wonderful. Well, popping over in the chat box, I see that we have a question from a viewer named Helena. Hi, Helena. Great to have you on. And she's asking what your favorite social media platform is. There are so many. I can't even imagine how many there are right now. I mean, I know that I try to stick to just a handful, but which one is your favorite to actually engage with your community?
I would say Facebook. I utilize YouTube a lot, and that's where all of my videos are hosted. And because we put so much time into the production and the time for the show, my YouTube channel is important to me. But I spend much more time on Facebook, and with the opportunity to tie Facebook into Twitter. And so when I'm posting on Facebook, it goes out on Twitter. It's fine. I would like to say that I've spent some time on Vine and Instagram and all of the other ones. I call them the younger versions of social media. but I haven't and I don't. However, Periscope is the new fun tool that I'll be using soon. And I know that you have had great success with that and you enjoy using it as well. So, and it only makes sense with what I do to really start to incorporate some more Periscope into my platform. And so that will be my new fun social media tool.
I mean, obviously with the TV show, it's not a live show. So, it's something you record and you produce and you put out once a week. But with Periscope, the beauty of that is you're able to interact with your viewers live. So they can really ask you a question like they just did. And you basically get to respond to them. So it's building up that know, like, and trust factor much quicker. And just getting yourself out there a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. So with that, I'm sure you'll encourage, as I will too, any of the viewers to put your toe in Periscope's water, because it is, well, it's just maybe a little river now. It's going to be a raging, it'll be an ocean soon. So
they're actually having their second summit in San Francisco, which is where the headquarters for Periscope is. And that's coming up in, I think, less than 2 weeks now. And I think it turns 1 year old on March 26th, if I'm correct. Yeah. So it's a very, very young platform, but if you're not in yet, get in now, because it's just going to explode.
Yeah. I will say too that, podcasting, and that's really where my heart is, in that my show is a video podcast. So we not only get the opportunity to show up on video on the website, on social media, on YouTube, but then of course the listenership on iTunes alone. I mean, that is a vast and growing vehicle for people. So if your intent is to build your brand and your income and your influence, having a podcast can be as powerful, as having any other presence online, and that you really get to have the opportunity to share with others, have people come to know, like, and trust you, which we know is so very important to building your brand and of course, growing whatever it is that you're looking to do in the online space. And so developing a podcast, or one step up, doing a video podcast, and still doing Periscope. Periscope is, you can certainly still do that, but then of course, creating that content that's available to all of those listeners on iTunes can be quite powerful as well.
So tell us a little bit about the differences, other than the obvious differences, or I guess the differences and benefits between a regular podcast and a video podcast.
Yeah, so with video podcast, you're obviously just showing up on video, and we know that the power of being seen and heard is so much greater than just being heard. And whether you choose to make that video podcast available on iTunes, because iTunes can support a video podcast, or you just use it on YouTube, or stream it, have it on YouTube and then blast it out on your other social media platforms, make it available on your website. People get to see you, and there's nothing better than people looking into your eyes and really seeing your expression, or whatever it is that you have to showcase. If you're a chef or an artist or a hairdresser, something that people can visually see, you can let them come, they can come into your living room, so to speak, and be a part of whatever that is. Unlike with audio, when they're just listening to you. So if you really have a business or business idea that is visual, doing a video podcast is by far much greater than just doing a podcast. So you've got the visual element, and then all you need to do is strip the audio, called taking down the MP3, what have you, and then uploading that to iTunes or any of the other podcast directories. And there's several other podcast directories, but iTunes and Stitcher Radio are obviously the biggest. And so utilizing those platforms now allow you to share your information, albeit audio, with a very big audience as well. And they might decide to just listen to you, but later come back to your website and watch it, or vice versa. You're just giving people the opportunity to consume you in a different platform. Blogging for many years was very big, and lots of people still write, but many people don't read as much as they prefer to listen to or watch. With a video podcast, you can incorporate all of those things. You can write the text out if you choose, or write a summary. You can have the link available for people to listen to, and then they can also view you. So you're meeting people at all of the places that they consume information. So
with that, what are some of the tools that you actually use? Now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of your video podcasting. You mentioned before that you use 3 cameras when you're recording, and obviously people don't need 3 cameras unless they want to do a nice, awesome production like you have. But why don't you share some of this, like the basic tools for people to get started?
Yeah. You don't need 3 cameras, and that's just it. I chose to do that because I come from a world of video, and while I didn't know how to shoot or edit, and I taught myself that on my journey to developing the video podcast, I came from lots of cameras and lights, and so I figured, why not go that direction? When I coach people on setting up their video podcast, I tell them to make it as simple as possible. Use the tools that you have. Oftentimes, a good cell phone records some of the best video, and you can literally record yourself, albeit if you keep the camera still with a tripod or a selfie stick. Great lighting is really important. So whether you're going to invest in a nice light kit, or in my case, I don't have my lighting kit here. I've just got 2 lamps that are facing me. You need to make sure the lighting is correct. And then the audio is great. And so whether you invest in what I call a little Zoom mic, which is $99, and record yourself that way, or at least use your headset and then plug it into the phone. If you're using your phone, you can do that. So that's probably the simplest way. The other thing you can do is you can just use the camera on your computer. And oftentimes people will set up their video podcast. Let's say it's just content. The same thing that we're doing now in a Google Hangout can be recorded. And then you can use that and save it on your website as well as on your YouTube channel. And then if you choose to turn it into a podcast, you can download the audio and then upload it, and then make that available on one of the podcast directories. So that's a simpler way of doing that. If you want a little more quality, I would suggest using a nice camera, and DSLR cameras really deliver some of the best video, and they're multi-purpose, so you can use it obviously to shoot photos. So that would be one that I would recommend. Not necessarily a camcorder, because typically they're harder to edit or make changes with. And if you are going to shoot using a DSLR camera, you simply can take out the, you add it to your, your computer, and then edit on software that may be available on your computer. Most Macs come with iMovie, and you can learn to edit if you choose to do that, or you can send it off and have someone edit it if you're looking at really adding in some other elements, sound, some graphics, things along that line. And then of course, you've got PCs that are available with, I think it's Moving Magic, I believe it is. But there are other software systems that you can invest a lot of money in to learn to edit. I don't necessarily recommend that, because then you spend a lot of time doing it. You can find other people to edit. There are lots of resources out there. Fiverr, for instance, if you're looking at doing it smaller. And then there are other people who promote themselves as editing your audio or your video podcast. So, or you could put together a team, which is ultimately what I had the great fortune to do, was to do that. So there are varying ways that you can learn to do it. There are a number of people that are online teaching people how to shoot and how to edit with their cell phones, because we realize how often we have them in their hands. You can even use it with your Periscope. If you're shooting a great Periscope session, whether you use Catch Me or actually download it into YouTube, that file is still available for you to save and then begin to disseminate. And then if you strip the audio and drop it onto one of the podcast directories, you've got a video podcast. So those are the simpler ways. Now, I do suggest quality though. And so as simple as that sounds, I would definitely suggest that you get a good mic source, that you get a good lighting source, that you have great content, that you are comfortable on camera. I mean, these are all the things that I coach people on and really help to support them. So the process is one that takes a little bit of time, but when it's done, you've got a viable brand and a marketable piece that you can share that lives forever. You know, it's available online as an evergreen message, and that's what's so very important at the end of the day.
Yeah, so the key, as you mentioned, is number 1, lighting, number 1, quality, or number 2, quality, and then number 3 is just really sound. It needs to be crisp. And you know, even some of the delays that we've had on this video here, I'm sure those things can actually be edited out afterwards.
Yeah, and you grow and you learn, and you can't be afraid to make mistakes. I mean, even to this day, I mean, there are times that, you know, we're into our 51st episode, and doggone it, I didn't turn the mic on. And it's, you know, on my intro, and I'm like, you know, so you get around it. Those things still happen, but you got to keep pushing it out there and try and learn from your mistakes. And, you know, I look back on the first couple of episodes and I think to myself, oh my God, but at the same time, I knew that if we just keep doing it, we would get better along the way. And, having been self-taught in terms of editing and even shooting, I mean, I sat on the end of the camera where I didn't have to worry about it. When I decided to do this, I wore every hat: producer, photographer, editor, and along the way, I decided if I'm going to continue to grow it at the pace that I wanted to bring on a team of people to support me. And I'm so grateful for them because they do an amazing job each week putting the contents of the show together so that I can focus on the other things. But that's not to say that that's everyone's journey. Some people might decide to keep it simple because they don't have those resources. And I would say do that first and foremost.
Well, I do commend you on actually wearing all the hats first, because I think as entrepreneurs, I mean, you need to be able to fill in if we really need it. So if you're obviously you can't film yourself if you're going to be in front of the camera, but you still, the editing, just to have an understanding of what's going on and then bring on your team. So hats off to you.
Well, you can if you get creative and you get the lens correct, and because I've done that many times. So, and it's amazing when you look back, like, how did I get that focus and I wasn't right there? So it's a little tricky, but it can be done.
Yeah, well, I guess with the selfies, right? And also with Periscope. I mean, you are literally just holding out the camera. So yeah. I guess you could record yourself.
Yeah.
So at this stage, I mean, you've given us a lot of tips and tricks for podcasting, but I want you to tell our viewers about the online course that you have. I know that when we first started talking, you were launching a, what was it, a show or something? Hold on, what was it that you were launching right before we were going to go live? I'm sure that's past.
No, it starts tonight. The course begins tonight, Wednesday, January 6th. It's called Accentuate, 6 weeks, 6 steps to making a video podcast. So we still have space available, and I even decided that I would extend the early bird discount of $200. So the course is available. It's 6 weeks. It's an online 90-minute course. It runs at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, but it will be recorded, and there are modules to actually begin the stages of setting up and launching a video podcast. If you're interested in just doing a podcast, you can still take the course, because the same things apply. It's just when we get to video, we'll talk a little bit more about video, and maybe you'll decide to do video instead. So whether you're interested in doing a podcast or a video podcast, the course is 6 steps, 6 weeks to making that. You can find the details at dariethchisolm.com/accentuate. dariethchisolm.com/accentuate. In fact, if I'm able to put that in the chat over here, I will. And you can register there. And we've got, as I said, I'm going to continue the discount, so it's available for people at $7.97. There's also a couple of payment plans if you need to, so you can take advantage of that. And I'm really excited about it. I've got a wonderful group of people who are excited about starting, and we're going to have a lot of fun along the way.
So this is basically the live course that you will then probably offer at a later date, but this is going to be live, you speaking to them, answering people's questions during this 90-minute call.
Yes.
Okay, so basically you'll be holding their hands while them and others go through and create their own podcast or video podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the nice thing about it is, because it is live, and yes, we will record it, but we're going to do Q&A at the end of the training each time. So oftentimes when you're watching a video, which I think is great because I've taken lots of courses that were pre-recorded, you get the opportunity to ask those questions while you're going through the course for the day. So that will always be available. That will be recorded as well. Some of it will be audio. So we'll just do some calls, and then a lot of it will be Google Hangout as well, sharing of the screen, as well as some additional support material and modules and downloads that are available as well.
Wonderful. So it starts today.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was
tonight.
Today,
everyone is interested.
I think what I was thinking of is, I remember the date, December 3rd, for some reason.
Oh, I was preparing for a live training for that, for a preview training for, that's what you were thinking about, the preview call, yes. But the actual course begins today, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, for those of you who are considering or thinking about doing a video podcast, it's so much easier to be able to have someone who has done it for over, I mean, you've been in just video recording for over 25 years. So I think if you're considering it, you definitely need to sign up. At least check it out. As she mentioned, the link is down there at the bottom in the chat box here. Let me just pop over and make sure you see it. So dariethchisolm.com/accentuate.
Yes, that's to enroll there. And by all means, if you're watching this and you came and enrolled because of that, please let me know. Of course, I'll be in contact with everyone that you found out about this by watching Isabel and I today. So that would be great.
Perfect. All right. Well, before we wrap this up, we have about 10 more minutes to go. If anybody else has any additional questions, especially regarding video podcasting or living on the island, whatever you want, please feel free to pop them in the chat box, and I can go ahead and ask Darieth before she goes. But before all that, why don't we have you share with us what is on your plan for 2016? I know you touched on a couple things, but what are your big plans and some things that we can actually help you with in this coming year?
Yeah. My first plan, believe it or not, is to actually take a few breaths and to just settle in and really find some clarity and balance. And so part of what I plan to do is to actually take a few days each week off, which is, I have not done that in years. And with the intent of really aligning and becoming into purpose so that I can give more on those days and then come in full bloom, so to speak. That's going to be a challenge for me, quite honestly, because I've never done that, but it's important that I do that. So that's part of it. And then living in a way that I have totally balanced all of those things that are very important, because I do believe that being prosperous is so much more than just making money and hustling for that next big thing, even though hustle is my brand. Then, of course, to continue to support those that are interested in developing a video podcast and a podcast, and so coaching people along those ways. I will plan to create another program. I'm in the process of working on that around Bloom Living, which will support some of the fundamentals in my book, Hustle. And I'm very excited about that because I'm working through some of the modules and writing that out. And that I'm hearing from some people who've read the book who said, great, can you give me some additional resources, some additional steps? Is there conversation along the way? What really does it take to live my dreams and love my journey? And so I really feel compelled to honoring that in myself, but then also sharing that. And so I'll look to share that relatively soon. I've got several speaking engagements that are lined up in Pittsburgh, as well as looking at a few different projects here in Jamaica. Plan to be in the UK in the spring, so I'm excited about that. That's a project that is long coming. Like, fingers crossed that will come to pass soon. And then just, of course, continuing to promote the book. So, life for me will be creating that balance, but then pushing those projects that I have into further bloom as I continue to grow this life of mine, so to speak.
There we go. We froze there a little for a bit. Share with us again where viewers can find your book, your Hustle book, because.
Yeah. And I will, of course, I'll put that in the chat as well. How to Love Your Journey. And so if you go there, you will see the link to purchase the book there. And I just popped that into, so How to Love Your Journey, it's available there. It's also on my website. So if you're right there on the website, you'll see, if you scroll down the little link that says, you'll see the book, you can click there and it'll take you out to the link to purchase. And it's also available on Amazon. So if you want to purchase it through Amazon, you can. If you buy it directly from the website, I'd be happy to autograph it and send it to you. So either way, you can find a copy of the book, Hustle, Why Now is the Time to Unleash Your Passions.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, let's just pop over to the chat box and see if anybody else had any questions for you. That one's done. All righty. Well, it seems like that is actually a wrap up of the show. This has actually been very insightful and very eye-opening. I think you talking about all the tools and your journey that you've been through has been just given people a lot of content as to get started on their video podcasting if needed. And if they're still wishing for some support and really ready to make a change this year and jump into the podcast world, because it's definitely something that is growing. I don't know what the numbers are, but especially video podcasting, I heard somewhere that I don't know, by 2017, I think something like 75 of the content that we're going to consume is all going to be video. So think about that.
Yeah, it is growing. And whether or not you choose to take the video that you're producing out into a podcast directory and turn it into a video podcast, that's up to you. The number one goal should be to get yourself in front of a camera, whether it's through Periscope or Meerkat, or, it's such as a Google Hangout, recording your Skype sessions, using your cell phone. Really disseminating your message where people can connect with you in video is so very important. And then the steps beyond that would be, then how do you disseminate it? What social media platforms are you using? And the step beneath that is, then can you monetize that? What are the ways that you can turn that into a form of income, whether it's finding advertisers to support it or promoting your own products or services within that video message. So there's varying ways that you can really grow your brand through video marketing. Just do it. And the more often people say, well, I'm afraid to show up on camera. I won't feel relaxed. The more you do it, the better you get. And nobody's ever perfect, and it's okay. And in fact, I think what's happened as of late, whether it's through Periscope or Meerkat, or sometimes even reality TV, is we've come to understand we'd rather see someone just being themselves and being authentic and transparent and making the mistakes, because we all realize it and we all accept it, as opposed to that perfect thing. So just do it. Just get out there and do it. And the more often you do it, the better you're going to get at it, and enjoy it. Enjoy the journey along the way.
I can totally imagine in your academy what's all the love that you're going to be giving to your listeners, because I think that big fear of showing up in front of camera is going to come up for a lot of people. And I have to even admit myself, with Periscope, there was some times, some days, weeks, I didn't actually even go on. And it was just kind of strange. You kind of think, okay, why is that fear coming up? But like you said, you just head forward, keep walking, and then look back and think, what was I ever afraid of?
Right. Yeah. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get at it. So, it's important to just get started. Now is the time.
Now, 10,000 hours, here we come.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Darieth. Well, once again, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed having you on and chatting with you, and having you share with our viewers what it is that's coming up for you in 2016, and giving us some pretty cool tips on podcasting and video podcasting.
Great. So it was a pleasure to be here. Thank you. And congratulations on your recent Huffington Post article. It was tremendous. Congratulations.
Oh, much love, much love. Yeah, I'm very excited. That was my first. So thank you very much for that love. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And thank you, viewers, for actually joining in, whether you're watching live or you're watching this recorded version. I'm really grateful for you to show up and give us your comments. So I really appreciate you being here, and we look forward to seeing you next week on the next episode of the Empower Hour. Signing off, Isabel Starck. Bye for now.
Bye.